stood deep within your dream, taking aim for your heart, so it would seem. Stand tall and read, go to hell and jump for paradise. Every time dangerous, dangerous, we like it serious, serious. Oh.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece 865 through 868. So, yeah, this is our final episode reaction for One Piece week. Tomorrow there will be a movie reaction instead. This is our final one that is a just straight up episode reaction. So I've had a lot of fun with this week. I enjoyed the first One Piece week as well, but I don't know if it's like this and a combination of other things, but this week has just been like mental health wise and stuff. I've been in a good place, and I think this is part of the reason why. It's just like mm, I I I really love One Piece, and maybe it's just because of the specific arc it's in and the specific stuff happening, but it's left me in a really good mood, really good place. Um, so it sucks to see it coming to an end, but we always knew it was going to. It's only a temporary thing. um, but yeah, I still had a lot of fun, and we definitely will do a third One Piece week sometime down the line. It won't be for a while though, because I definitely want to keep these separated. I want to keep them to an every now and again kind of scenario, not like all the time. Just because, taking an entire week of nothing but One Piece also means taking a week off of other stuff, and I don't want to do that too often. But either way, I am excited for what these four episodes have in store for us. They are the last four episodes we're going to see for a couple weeks because we are taking next week off of One Piece as well. Just because we did an entire week of One Piece, we don't need to do. We could skip a week after that to take a break from it. But I'm excited because we got a lot of great stuff happening. We had the introduction of the Sulong form. We had continued fight between Luffy and Katakuri that is hopefully soon going to reach its big climax. Um, we had just some awesome on-sea battles. We got to see Capone Beji and them taking on Oven, which was great, and just so much stuff in this big climactic finale for the arc. This final act for it has just been really damn good. Um, and while it doesn't make the arc alone, because like with any arc, you have to account for everything. Like one good part of an arc does not make it, and that goes for any kind of story arc in any kind of media. Like it's the same reason why I always hate the idea like, oh, the ending is paramount and everything, like the concept of that, where it's like if a series has a bad ending it completely ruins the series. It's like, no, it doesn't. Star versus the Forces of Evil and Steven Universe were still fantastic shows. Hell, even at points phenomenal shows. Their endings did hurt my overall interest in them. The endings did just hurt the overall quality, but they didn't ruin the entire show. Like, if a reactor I watched who had never seen Steven Universe started reacting to it again, I would definitely watch. Same with Star Versus, without question. Because I still love the high points of the show, even if it did end with a sputter. Um, every point of a story arc, or in some cases a show altogether, but every point matters. And the final like quality of it is dependent on all of it and how it all comes together. So I can't even fully judge this arc until it's over. And once it is, that at that point I can determine where on my list it would rank. I know it's going to be high. I can tell that already, but that's it. I don't know how high it will be on my list, and it all just depends on how it ends. while the ending isn't paramount, while it doesn't determine like if the entire arc is good or bad or not, it will determine the exact placement because it works alongside everything else. That's all I'm saying. But I have faith. I have faith in Oda that the ending is going to be great. Um, and this ends pretty darn soon, like only within like what 15, 20 episodes, something like that, I think. And then we go on to the next mini arc leading up to Wano. So it's like we're really close now, which means we definitely got to wrap up this fight with Katakuri. I think that's going to wrap up before the end of the arc because Luffy still has to get back to the crew and they still have to like finally fully escape. Um, we need to get the cake to Big Mom. That hopefully needs to happen soon. Just a lot of things need to kind of wrap up. So we'll see how that goes. Um, I don't know what to expect from these episodes. I don't know anything forward or going forward with this arc. Like everything that I knew going into this arc, just from the spoilers I did have due to being so far behind on the series, everything I knew has already come to pass. Sulong form was the last thing that I knew about this arc. I do not know how this ends at all. I do not know anything about how this ends. Everything I knew going into the arc has already come to pass. So I am completely blind on the rest of this arc, which I am super excited about. Um, because it's like when you're so far behind on a series like this, you find stuff out and it's like it's almost a little disappointing because even if you don't know the context behind the stuff you find out, it's like you still know something's coming and you wish you didn't. But then there's like points where it's like you get to that point in the arc where it's like, oh, you've seen everything you knew about it. It's like, I don't know what's coming anymore. I have no idea how this is going to end. That's exciting. That's interesting. The air of mystery is back on that we should have with these kind of shows. And this is why I don't like it when Let's Players play games that they've played dozens and dozens of times. It's like, oh, this is one of my favorite games. We're going to play it all the way through here. It's like, why? It's not entertaining to watch you play a game you've played dozens of times and know how to beat, to know every little inch of. That's not entertaining to watch. It's not fun to watch because, unless it's like a party game, like a Jackbox game or something like that, then it's not fun. If it's a story-based game, it's like the part of the entertainment, part of the one of the main factors of entertainment for watching a let's play of that is seeing how they react to the story and the characters and all on their first time, seeing how they react to finding all that stuff out for the first time. That's the appeal. Same with reactions. The appeal for reactions is watching it, watching people how they react to something that they've never seen before, that they're blind on. And that's why I like really like Rough Senpai and his reactions because he's made a point in multiple videos now um where he will not fake a reaction. If he is not blind on it, he will not fake that. He doesn't believe in doing that. And I really appreciate that. And I'm the same way. And the thing is, I have done it in the past, and that's why I'm so against it now, because I realize how much it hurts the overall feeling of the reaction. I don't do that anymore. At least not for the most part. The only situation where I would ever do that is if I were to react to a series like I haven't seen for a long, long, long ass time, and I don't even remember anything anyways, like Pandora Hearts. I don't I reacted to Pandora Hearts despite a decade ago seeing a few episodes in the beginning, and it's like it was a decade ago. I don't remember anything pretty much. I remember like a couple little plot things that you could see in any trailer, pretty much. That's it. Um, or not even plot details, just like little um visual details and shit, like the pocket watch. But I didn't actually know any plot information. I didn't remember anything because it had been so long. See, that's an exception where I'll watch things over again. But if it's like something like I wouldn't react to Steven Universe now because I've already seen it. I already know what it's about. I'm not just gonna go back and react to it again. Or what's a good series that I didn't react to, but Pokemon Journeys. Let's go with that. I don't know. Pokemon Journeys I've been watching on Netflix. I'm not going to go and react to that. I've watched it on my own time. Reacting to it at this point, there would be no point because it wouldn't be blind. I'd know everything that's going to happen, therefore my reaction would be boring, honestly. So, because it wouldn't be much of a reaction at all. I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I'm rambling. I tend to do that. You guys know that. um, but anyway, the point is that I do know nothing going forward. I have no idea how the fight with Katakuri is going to end. I have no idea how Luffy's going to be able to stop this at all. I have no idea how they're going to stop Big Mom. I mean, I assume it's with the cake, but you never know. There's like a lot of questions I still have going forward with this. And again, I prefer it that way. That's what I want to see with this series and with any series. Um, so yeah, yeah. Um, Before I start another ramble, we're just going to get on with this and hope for the best with this final set of 4 episodes for One Piece week. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, yeah. I think Katakuri might be usurping the throne for my favorite One Piece villain from Doflamingo. And I still love Doflamingo, but Katakuri, his pride and determination, his strength of will and honor puts him a little bit ahead of Doffy for me. Doffy it was fantastic, an amazing villain, and that still stands. He he was so evil, so violently, horrifyingly evil. But he didn't have that honor bound system that Katakuri has here. And while I still like villains who don't necessarily have to be honor bound, I still like villains who are just evil bad guys. I also appreciate when a villain can have that honor system. They're still bad guys. They're still doing bad things and willing to do bad things. That's undeniable. But they have an honor system to where if they're in a big fight with someone, they're not going to want to win unfairly. They're going to want to win in a fair fight, especially at the point where they acknowledge their opponent. Katakuri at this point had acknowledged Luffy. He had acknowledged him as being strong and as being a legitimate threat. Unlike before, where he had said that Luffy was so far beneath him. He had changed his mind. He had seen Luffy's power. He had seen Luffy's will. He saw Luffy starting to gain control over his observation haki to the point where he was getting to the same level as him. And that impressed Katakuri. So when he found out Flampe, aka Charlotte Bitch, had fucked with his fight, it pissed him off. It angered him. He was upset that this person he had just started to acknowledge was crippled during the fight. Temporarily, mind you, but still, by outside interference. That the fight itself was messed with, the fight that he was starting to appreciate and maybe even to a point enjoy. So he was angry and he could have attacked them. But instead, he steeled himself and evened the playing field. Luffy got a major heavy wound to the side from Katakuri only at that moment because of Flampe's interference. So Katakuri evened the playing field by giving himself the same wound. And he followed it up by removing his scarf and telling Flampe and all those with her, if you're going to laugh at him, you laugh at me too. Like, there's very rarely a moment in anime where, at least for me, I see a moment and I'm like, this is the epitome of manliness. And I like it. It's rare that I see that because most of the time in a lot of these shows, when they show this kind of overly masculine, manly character, it's usually toxic masculinity. But we've seen throughout this that Katakuri is definitely not like that. He acknowledges all of his siblings, male or female. He acknowledges their skills and talents. He values them greatly. He adores them all. But he also has such honor and pride and determination that he's willing to give himself a grievous injury to make up for the fact that one of these siblings just fucked with the fight. He's willing to actively hurt himself because of the shame he feels for how that went down. And it's not really a good thing, like in real life, to like hurt yourself in that situation. Like that's still kind of messed up and shows a lot of like issues that I really don't have time to go into today in this video. But in the context of this series, in the context of this world and stuff, in the context of like just these kind of fights in general, that's an extremely high sign of respect. It's like when Zoro, during the Baratie arc, held out his arms and let Mihawk slash into him rather than turn his back. Rather than turn his back and bring on that shame, he let Mihawk slice into him to show how much he respects and looks up to Mihawk, but also his determination to surpass him. It's very much the same here. Katakuri took on that injury to show how much he has grown to respect Luffy, but also to show that he still plans to continue this fight, that he still plans to defeat Luffy. and it's just so cool. It just is. Um, and again, I acknowledge that Katakuri is still a bad guy here. I acknowledge that. But you can acknowledge a bad guy doing something really cool or doing something really good or badass or whatever. Like, bad guys, uh, like a lot of times in a lot of media, are still people. And outside of the ones who are just evil, like comically evil for the sake of being evil, it's like a lot of them have character and story and even their limits. Hell, the Harley Quinn series showed that. The Harley Quinn series that the through season one that I reacted to showcased that in a notable way in one of its episodes. Technically, multiple episodes, but especially one of them. A specific one. The one with the Queen of Fables and all, and showing that Harley had her limits on what she would do or whatnot as a villain. It was a good episode. I've seen it a couple times since as well. But either way, Katakuri is just one of those villains who exudes just badassness. It's as simple as that. He's badass. He's awesome. He's cool. He's really fucking cool. And it's like when you first see him, like the first time you see him, it's just a brief glimpse of him like walking through the rain, and it's like just the first shot you get of him there is mysterious. It's it instantly tells you that there is something to this character that you should pay attention with the way it's framed and the way it's shot. And then when it truly introduces him, when he's sitting up there and flicking his jelly beans and shit, it's just like you instantly see like, oh, this guy is something special. This guy is cool. This guy is exciting. You want to see where this is going to go. And admittedly, like I had said before, I knew where this was going. I knew this was going to end with a fight with him and Luffy. I knew about that ahead of time. But my excitement was still there when seeing it because the scenes were so well done that it's like, yeah, you still are excited to see what they do with him exactly. Because I still didn't know all the details. I didn't know all the depths of what they do with his character and what how his fighting is and all that. So once that stuff started to happen, it's like it just kept building and building, and Oda did that really well, and it's shown here in this series. You know, we see how his powers and his abilities and his strengths are built up throughout this second and third act of the arc. Ever since his introduction, you see how it's all built up, how it's all continuously getting more and more growth, for lack of a better word. So once it actually gets to the big meat of the fight between these two, it feels like it's been properly built up to. Like every punch you see has had a story behind it in a way. And I think that's what I like most about these villains, the villains of One Piece who are built up, who aren't just like the villain of the arc. They actually have depth to them from for multiple arcs. Crocodile was so dynamic for that very reason. He was built up for a few different arcs prior to actually getting to the Alabasta arc and him actually being the focused villain. He had been built up since Whiskey Peak. Technically, since even before that, since the Reverse Mountain arc with Laboon, when Vivi and Mr. Nine first arrived. Technically, that was where it was first started to build up because that's where Baroque Works was first started building up. I think he was actually first mentioned in Whiskey Peak, though. But still, that's still, you got Whiskey Peak, you got Drum, or before Drum Island, you have what's after, what is it? Little Garden, that's what it's called. You have Whiskey Peak, you have Little Garden, you have Drum Island, and then you get to Alabasta. You have 3 arcs of buildup. 4 if you do want to count that bit of Reverse Mountain of buildup for Crocodile. Doflamingo was introduced in the Jaya arc post Alabasta. He was introduced there. He had a couple of appearances. He was big during Marineford. And then pretty much the entire start of the New World post time skip, save for maybe Fishman Island. He didn't really have much of a role in that. That was more that set up Big Mom actually. But Punk Hazard and everything, we started setting him up even more, and it's like clear, like, oh, he's about to become the actual villain at the moment, the actual current villain. And it's like, it really did so well at that. And they did the same with Big Mom. They set her up, and it succeeded. Not for as long as others, of course, but still. They've set Kaido up, and he's going to be coming up. They've set Blackbeard up plenty of times. Katakuri only had to build up through this arc. He was only a villain for this arc. But his build up was still there, and it was progressive since his debut. It got progressively more and more and more constant build up since he first appeared. It never let down on that. And since these current arcs are longer than a lot of like the pre-time skip arcs have been, it allows for a lot more of that consistent build-up throughout the arc for specific characters. That makes, again, the final fights with them feel much more well-earned, much more well-handled. And this fight between Luffy and Katakuri has mostly been one-sided, but you see Luffy start to gain advantages at a couple points and start to grow and learn, and even his powers increase. And it's like, once it starts to get to this point where it's at now, it's like, holy shit, it's really starting. And I love that. But this episode had more to talk about. I've been talking about for 15 minutes now about nothing but Katakuri and Luffy. So outside of that, we also had Sanji and Big Mom in these episodes. That entire arc, those two sides of things kind of colliding. So Sanji and Beji on their ship, they finally finished the cake completely, all iced, all decorated, and they finally reach the Straw Hats, where the Straw Hats are. Sanji and Pudding head off to convene with them, while the Fire Tank Pirates head their own separate way, luring Big Mom away from the Straw Hats with the cake. At first, they're going to go to the nearest island, which is Liqueur Island, but then Chiffon brings up, we actually want to get them further away to Fluffy Island, because this way she won't be able to come back and attack the Straw Hats as easily and as quickly. And it's a great point, and she's so determined on that idea that she actually convinces her husband. She convinces Beji to agree with her. And so they're headed to Fluffy Island, luring Big Mom away. However, the Straw Hats are still having to deal with the rest that are still there. While I can't remember the one guy's name, like, at all. Wow, my mind is completely blanking. Like, there's the one Charlotte member who was just recently introduced. I don't remember his name, but there's the other one too, who was also chosen, Perisparrow. I don't know why his name was escaping me, but Perisparrow and the other guy, they decide to split up, and those two head towards Big Mom and the Fire Tank Pirates, while Charlotte Smoothie and her sisters stay on course for the Straw Hats. Oven is waiting at Cacao Island for them, planning on using the mirrors in order to lure Luffy into a trap when he comes through. Um, but yeah, Smoothie is on the trail of the rest of the crew. And she is using a new application of her power, absorbing the juices, ew, from her crewmates to enhance her own powers, allowing her to send these sword attacks, these like waves of energy from her sword at the Sunny. Because of help from Nami and all, Jinbei is able to dodge all the attacks though. Um, so it looks like that kind of option isn't really helping the Charlotte family at all. Um, Montdor just continues to freak out, so not much is happening with him. Uh, but yeah, it's like there was not as much that was happening with them because it was definitely still focusing so heavily on Luffy versus Katakuri with these episodes. Um, that's where all my attention was at. The other stuff was interesting and good and everything, but that's where my attention was truly at. I do find it interesting that Brooke decided to hide the fact that Pedro is dead from Sanji when he arrived. That was a really interesting decision, and I don't think a good one. I think that it'll probably not help matters in the long run by hiding that from him. But we'll see how that goes. Carrot, after taking a nice long rest, has woken up. So she's doing better now again. And we did get to see Monster Point Chopper take on Big Mom, even if just very briefly. I was wondering about that with the opening, with the Superpowers opening that's currently going, if we were actually going to see that or if that was just a cool visual for the opening. No, we actually got to see it for very little time, mind you, and Chopper really didn't do much. He didn't really stand a chance, but we still got to see it, and it was still cool. It was a cool idea, and also the Sunny is either bigger than I thought somehow, like I somehow thought it was smaller, or Chopper's Monster Point is smaller than it used to be. Because I remember when his Monster Point first debuted during Eni's lobby, and it's like that shit was massive, like obnoxiously massive. So it's like maybe it's smaller now that he can control it and all. I'm not sure. Um, or maybe the Sunny is just much bigger than I thought, but I think it might be that he's actually smaller now that he controls the Monster Point. Because I think this is the first time I've seen the Monster Point since I started reacting to this. Because and it's been a long ass time since I watched stuff prior to that. um, I don't remember when the last time he would have used Monster Point is. I don't think he used it in Dressrosa. He might have used it in Punk Hazard. So maybe he used it in Punk Hazard. But still, it's been a long ass time since I've seen Punk Hazard. So yeah. Um, but either way, it's like, yeah, I definitely think it might be smaller. But it was interesting to see nonetheless. Um, we also see that Nami has fully captured Zeus now. Like again, that was something that I did know about because of having reacted to One Piece Stampede before. Um, so I did know ahead of time that Nami ends up getting Zeus. I just didn't know how, and then we start to see it. We start to see how she lures in Zeus, and then eventually even almost gets him to join, but he manages to avoid it, and everything manages to stay loyal to Big Mom. Unfortunately, now it seems like that's not the case anymore. Um, so instead, Big Mom is riding on Prometheus, which I have to assume that Prometheus can control if he burns someone or not. So I assume that he's not burning her because he can actively control that. Which makes sense, especially considering he's brought to life through Big Mom's soul. but that just seems insane. But yeah, Zeus is definitely fully 100% captured by Nami now and acting as her servant. So that's a thing that's going on. Um, and that's pretty much all we had with these episodes. Like the entire stuff with Oven on Cacao Island, ordering them all to shatter the mirrors and all, that was just setup. That didn't come to any fruition yet. Montdor freaking out, like he's been freaking out. Nothing new there. Um, Not much else has really actually occurred. It was so focused in these episodes on the fight that it's like that took center stage over everything else. Like the only other big things we got were the fact that Sanji reconvened with the crew and that the fire tank pirates are now leading everyone away. That's really the only other thing that had a notable focus. That entire plot line converging and going forward. Um, but yeah, everything else was so minor in these episodes, which is fine to have a focus like that at the moment. But yeah, it just doesn't leave as much to talk about. But I guess since I talked about Luffy and Katakuri for so long, mostly Katakuri, I guess it kind of evens out. Um, Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of these episodes of One Piece. What did you think of Katakuri being a badass? What did you think of Charlotte Bitch and her blow darts? Tell me your thoughts on all of that and more down in the comments below. And yeah, this was the final episode reaction for One Piece week. Once again, tomorrow we will be reacting to the One Piece movie, Baron Omatsuri and the Secret Island. And next week there will not be a One Piece reaction. We will be taking the week off just because we did this entire week of One Piece, had 4 different episode reaction videos. So we're gonna take next week off, and then we'll get back to everything else. We'll get back to we'll start to get back to everything else. I don't know if we'll actually get to every other reaction next week, but yeah. We'll start to get back to everything else starting Sunday with Ruby. And into this next week, we'll just start getting back to all the other stuff as well. But yeah. Yeah. We'll get back to One Piece the week after. So yeah, which I think is the first week of December. I think. Something like that. Either way. Like I said, tell me your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for tuning in to One Piece Week. Once again, we will have more of these in the future, probably. At least one more. At least one more for sure, since we still have to get caught up. Once we get caught up, at that point, it won't be an issue, but there will be at least one more, but it won't be for a few months. Like, I don't see it happening before February at the earliest. But yeah, either way, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.